Hello everybody and welcome back for another Transformer review. Today we are going to take a look at MB-08, Double Evil from Fans Hobby. This is their take on a Masterpiece scale Overlord. But man, this figure is fantastic and it is very, very large. So large in fact that if you can see right here, it came in two different packaging. So we'll take a quick look here at the package all the way from the top to the bottom. This thing came, like I said, in two different packaging, one for the tank and one for the jet itself. Moving this along, we see Fans Hobby on the side, both sides on these guys. At the back here, we show Overlord in his robot mode, as well as the base mode that he can do, and the jet, and also how the pilots here interact with his chest, and how they sit inside of the cockpit. Moving this box along, oh, show you that too. That's just a great picture too. But moving that along, we'll show the other half of this monstrous figure. We show the tank with one of the pilots right there, as well as the tank here on the back. But really, that's about it for the packaging. So let's go ahead and move along to the figure. So this video is going to be at a little bit of a different kind of angle here because of how large these things are. But first, here we have Double Evil in their vehicle modes. Of course, before we get into the figures too much here, let's move him out of the way a little bit. We'll see what is inside of the packaging. We have the collector's card for Double Evil, front and back with some tech specs. We show a sticker sheet that I have yet to apply that goes for Double Evil and Power Baser, which is their Power Master Optimus Prime. The sticker sheet instructions, at least for Power Baser. And since this figure is so large, we have two instruction booklets, both showing different modes and how to transform from in and out of them. Again, massive figure. There are many accessories that are currently attached to the two vehicle modes here, so we'll get to those in due time. But first here, we'll take a look at the God Masters. We first see Giga, which will be the Gold Godmaster, and good articulation here in the hands, or at least arms, might I say. The face looks pretty nice as well, nicely painted with red in the eyes. Good gold paint here on the chest and some here on the knees. Knee articulation, legs can go all the way back and forward. We see the nice gold chroma course in the back, and to transform him, fold this up. This hand right here will fold into the leg nicely. And click that together. Same with over here. Just like so. And there you have one of the engines ready to go. Same for Mega, which is the wife of Giga. Paint is pretty nice there on the face as well. Silver throughout. Gray plastic and some silver here on the feet. Same type of articulation. There's the silver on the back there. And same type of transformation you would come to expect for one of these. Overall, these are both very nice. They're plastic, there's no die cast in them, but still very nice. The paint, even messing with these guys a whole lot so far, it does stick together pretty well, so that is promising. If you were to interact these little guys with their vehicles, you can just fold their legs out and their arms, open up this cockpit, hopefully a missile doesn't fall out, that has fell out a whole bunch. Move the steering wheel up, legs straight in, folded in. I do notice this guy gets caught sometimes if you don't have him in there fully correct, but close the cockpit and there you go. Same with here on the tank. Fold that up, get that out a little bit, get her nice and straight as well. Arms out, bring her in, get her nice and straight, steering wheel down, and close her in as well. And they are both controlling each part of their transistors, I think they call them in the cartoon. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what they call them. So, getting into the plane first. This thing is utterly massive. As you can tell, there's my hand, and it's probably the length of the cone, maybe. Not a whole lot, but we see good paint here on the front, as well as some of the side vents here, molding detail throughout the entire figure. We see some tampos on the back, which are nice as well. Down here on the bottom, we do have landing gear that rolls. front and back, as well as some more tampoing detail here, some more paint. Overall, this guy is very, very sturdy, pretty heavy for the most part. There is no die cast with this figure, neither with the top or bottom, which is okay because of how big it is. You probably just wanted to not have to have that much heft to it, but still, it is a heavy figure overall. This right here is removable, one of the weapons that you can pull out and extend, which is very nice as well. Nicely silver paint there as well. Close that up. You can put it back on top if you want. We'll put it to the side for the time being. But that is it for the plane. And for comparison for this, we'll bring in Optimus here, or at least Magic Square's Optimus, and you'll see the length here is barely the size for where the cockpit. It looks like the feet go right past the cockpit. So you know this thing is massive. Very, very large. And of course, the last comparison for vehicle mode will bring in the Titan's Return top piece of Overlord. And yeah, that is about the same length as Optimus. Very large. Very, very large. Now for the tank mode, we have good rotation, which is pretty surprising since this does split in half to do the transformation. We see good tampo work here and molding detail throughout the entire figure. These are rubber treads, which do roll. They don't roll the best, especially on certain tables, but they do roll if you get them moving, just like so. You just got to kind of get them moving a little bit, and they do start to move. We see some silver paint, some gray, turquoise, and blue coloring throughout. Some more tampo here on the top, as well as some missiles. So this here, there are a couple different things that you can do. This opens up, which reveals something we'll show later. Same here. This one does open up too and reveals a satellite dish, which you'll see later. And of course, this piece right here opens up and reveals, looks like a missile launcher, which these come out. And it blows my mind that those actually come out. I kind of thought they were part of the mold, but it seems like every time I transform this thing, I find out something new about it that just really blows my mind. They really put a lot of care and detail into this, which is fantastic in my opinion. Of course, now also down here, it is really cleans up pretty well. This part does come off, so it's a bit of a parts former in a way. But for an Overlord figure, you kind of got to expect that. And also this right here is a gun, which does clean up and hide very nicely. So pretty much anything on or that comes with this guy will store in either one of the two modes, and in base mode they have their own place too. For comparison, we'll bring in Prime for this one as well. See that Prime is about the same length as the tank. Tank's a little bigger, of course, and if you were to bring the front part of the tank, you can see that, as well as the Titan's Return. And yeah, this is like a baby compared to that, and this is leader class. So you know this guy's very, very big. Now on for transformation, we will go into base mode next. This is the mode I have yet to transform into very much, so bear with me. This one could be a little bit longer than what I would hope, but again, it may not be. So let's get the Godmaster out of there, close that back up. This whole part, this is the scariest part, or at least one of the scarier parts for me, is to separate this entire piece. We'll get this ramp off, put that away. But when you get to certain pieces, as you separate it, they kind of stick together pretty hard, and I haven't noticed any buttons to make it loose, so it kind of just have to rip it apart if you can. It's a really tight connection. So we'll start from the back here. There we go. Separated just like that. So, of course, the gun, we'll move that aside for right now. Show it kind of in base mode a little bit. But let's go on to one piece here. Close this up, just like so. Once you get here, you will take this little piece out here, this panel, fold that out, which will then show two different areas where you can tab this in. I'll tab it into the front. Slide this up a little bit there to line this peg with that slot. Put it together. As long as it is lined up. There we go. Pegs in very nicely. This piece down here Inside here, we will have to move this up. Luckily, didn't need a tool at that point. From there, you can attach multiple different weapons. There is a crane piece right here. You can plug this in, get that nice and articulated how you like. Down here on the bottom, take out these pieces right here, which will be feet to hold up the side of the base. And there we have one section complete at the moment. Moving on to the other one, unpeg here, bring this panel up as well, rotate that out, bring that forward, and you're going to take this peg right here, slot it in to one of these, peg it into the front one, click that in, get that nice and ready, go down to the bottom, bring out the feet as well, which come out nicely to hold it up, makes it look nice. You can then bring in the gun, at least this one, get it all expanded, just like how you would like it to. I kind of like it to stay up like that. You can peg it in to that slot right there, which should move in without any kind of problem there. Move it around. This does rotate, which is very nice. And next, you could also take this gun, expand that, peg it into the front here, onto that little slot. And this does rotate as well. So it's kind of a large defense, might you say, for the other side of the fortress. Next comes the big part. We'll move these two aside for the time being. And we'll bring in the big ship here. There are a couple missiles here. I'm going to take them off and show you real quick. These 4 missiles, they do peg onto the sides of the wings. One of them is not molded correctly, or at least I guess you can say not glued together correctly, so it's uneven. Everything else is even, so they do stick on very nice because they do slot in. There is no pegging or anything, just slotting. So this one only gets to slot in one at a time, so this one is not as nice as the other 3. A little disappointing, but I could probably take it apart. I just don't want to mess up the paint. Moving on to this. So we'll go from the back here, disconnect the wings. Gonna rotate these around. For the wheels, we're gonna take this piece, bring it out, rotate the wheels in, and close it up. Same with this side. Rotate this around, close this up with the wheel tucked away. Bring this all the way up for the time being, and just leave it there for right now. Coming to the back here, we will bring this whole piece out and disconnect from the bottom thrusters here. Both sides. These are the ramps. You may need a tool to get these out. Sometimes I do. And it looks like this will be one of the times I do. Get that out. Get that out. Fold them out, just like so. Which will then connect to the side pieces here in a moment. At the top of this, we can go ahead and there's a button here. Click this to disconnect this piece to get it out of the way for the time being. Once this is moved out, you will bring this back down to slot back in as you would start with, which of course there are slots right about there and there that these two will slot into, and just line it up, slide it back in. No loud clicking of any sort, they just kind of slide in. These will then rotate upwards to give the platform. Coming to the back here, you will take these 2 pegs on both sides, slot them in down here at the bottom, which should line up nicely and slot in without any problem, and cover up that section right there. These 2 don't exactly sit together on mine. They may for you, but for me they don't. Maybe it's just how they designed mine. Over here on the side, you're going to rotate this around, fold this in, both sides. Do this over here as well. You can then take the missiles and peg them in. At this moment, I will not, but we can get to that in a moment. Bring in the side pieces here, right here, and right there is a peg. You're just going to line that up nicely. Let's see if I can get it in camera view at least. You just kind of slot that in like so. Come to this side as well. Do the same thing over here. There is that slot right there and a peg on the bottom of this. Bring that up. Click that in. Sorry for hitting the camera there. Push this back a little bit more. Next, we will bring in the main ramp, which will then slot right here. There's a slot on that piece. Bring this in. Nicely. There we go. Pull the wings back out if they got a little maneuvered. Things do kind of come untabbed. It doesn't stay together the best. Don't know if it's just me doing something wrong. It is very possible. I by no means am perfect at this. But there we go. From here, there is a section right here underneath the cockpit, which I will come around and bring this out, which will then show another gun, which can fold forward. You can bring in one of the little guys here. You can put them in to this area. Act like he's shooting the guns. You can bring in the other one, which is still currently in the cockpit. And sit it on the throne. Bring it back again if you like. And make him look like he's shooting as well. And 2 more pieces. Like I said, this is quite the expansive piece. Open up these 2 panels. One there that I showed you from before. Once you get that open, you will see the other satellite dish. This is one of them. This one. May need a little help to get out. This one kind of sits in there a little tighter. There we go. Close that back up. Coming to the top. Peg these into the back of the thrusters. And there you have Overlord in his city mode. And this thing is freaking huge. You see the whole base mode. The main walkway into the layer, I guess you can call it however you want to call it, for the base mode, all the way to the top. And this thing is really, really neat. If I had a place for this and I wanted to make a little play set with maybe some Prime Masters of sorts, or maybe even some other smaller figures that I might have, this would be a real nice setup overall. Zooming in a little bit, you can see the full detail all the way around this guy. By far, well worth it for me. I mean, he is an expensive figure, but this is such a cool setup. So if you have anything that is about the same size as these Godmasters, you may find a good little playset to set up, but that is really up to you. They don't really stand up too well unless you get their legs bent. There you go. Makes them look pretty good. But overall, fantastic. Moving on to robot mode. Let's go ahead and take these guys back out and to the side once again. Move those to the side. Take pretty much everything that we put on off and move those to the side. We will go and disconnect from the main part of the body and take this off. First things first, let's go ahead and disconnect this, which is just slotted together. This will then fold up, nicely compacted, and we'll get to that later, and this piece as well. Moving to the first leg. Close that up, get that out of the way. Down here on the bottom, you will disconnect this panel, move it out of the way. This will then disconnect from here, all the way around, rotate, get that panel out of the way, down to the other part of the tread. On the bottom down here, disconnect this panel, rotate it up, take this foot, move it all the way out so that you can take this whole piece and collapse it in. Make sure it's nice and even. Fold this panel down. This panel will have 2 different pegs that slot in just there. Get that nice and connected. And onto the foot. Here, you're going to rotate this around, bring this piece all the way out, rotate this up. Once you do, this will sit flat, and you can then move this piece out. If you had a tool to do so, maybe, there we go, get that out. And there is another piece in here that you want to rotate out as well, which makes the toe of the foot look complete. This piece we'll get to in a moment. Back here to the top, disconnect this, move this to the side, rotate this panel back in, bring this piece all the way down. This piece right here will then fold in. This goes on a hinge all the way in as well. This will sit right there for the moment. This whole piece will come all the way down. You're going to take those 2 pegs right there, slide them in there. You will have to extend this piece for it to fit. Peg it in, and it sits nice and flush. This piece will come down and sit flush on the shin of the leg. This piece will then rotate up. You will then slot this in just like so and bring this back down. This piece right here, this click in and out, it just helps with the transformation of the leg to vehicle mode. But overall, we are done with 1 leg. And we'll sit it to the side. On to leg number 2. It's pretty much the exact same transformation. We will then bring this panel all the way out, bring it down, bring the treads, which will then disconnect from the back here, loosen them, bring them around. We'll wait on that panel, get this nice and even there for a moment. Come to the front here, disconnect this, rotate it out of the way, come to the foot, and bring it out on that hinge, rotate it around. Bring the shin, bring the heel all the way out, and for the back piece there as well. Come to the toe, bring that out on its hinge, get the toe and foot all complete. Collapse this in all the way. We will bring out the leg a little bit on that sliding joint. Bring this in and collapse it to connect to the side of the leg. Take this piece, fold this in, bring this piece all the way down like so. This piece will then collapse downwards and in, sitting it nice and flush. You will then, if you haven't already, you will bring this out, 2 slots, 2 pegs, and click that in together like so. Front here, fold this up, click it in, bring that panel down, and there you have the leg part 2 complete. Something else I did notice, you want to fold in these 2 pieces, which were part of the fortress mode. Same with this side, fold these in and bring this piece out. Coming to the top of the figure. Go ahead and take these panels and disconnect this. We will then fold these in and rotate them back in, out of the way. I do notice if you bend it too far too soon, it won't go in. So if you fold it at an angle and then slightly rotate in, it goes in just fine. Bring that down for the moment. Disconnect these pieces here from the top. This piece you will then rotate down. Make sure this piece is back up and click it back in. This will be the shield, so what we'll do is get it nice and ready. Fold that out. You can either bring this down, which he will hold nicely, and I'll show you that in a little bit, or he will peg into the side of his arm. This piece right here can go right about there. Slot it in nicely, which makes a bit of a cover-up, which is kind of nice. Take this piece as well, fold this around. This piece for the crane, you can actually tab it right in to the inside right there. Again, it's nice to have some storage. But the shield is ready, and we'll get to that for later. On to the top of the figure. We'll go to the front here, bring the head around on the ball joint, bring the arms down. These are pretty interesting here. So we'll get the wings out a little bit out of the way, come down to the bottom, click this down. This will then have it so you can rotate the hands out, take the boosters, peg those away, and slot them back in like so. The back here, you're going to disconnect this if it isn't already disconnected. Coming to the top up here, you're going to take this piece and loosen it on that piece right there, rotate it around, so right about there, which will then loosen it up so you can bring this piece down. This will then peg in like so. And then you can start to, if you bend the elbow, rotate his elbow guard all the way up. This piece on the back, you just have to straighten up, leave it flat, and right about there. You can then fold this up, fold this back up. This piece right here, this will slot right there, nicely into the arm. And we have one arm complete. Over to this side, same story. So we'll pop this out, get the hand, rotate that out like so. Bring this piece in, fold it up. This is already tabbed in. Let's go ahead and undo it so we can make some clearance for moving things around. Come to the back, rotate this piece up. Bring the elbow out just a little bit. Bring this panel down and click it in. Take this piece and rotate it around and forward. Take this and rotate it up. Just like so. Bring this piece back down and click it in. And we have two arms complete. Back here for the backpack. Overall, this backpack is really cool. It really collapses very nicely and doesn't leave much hanging for kibble onto the back. If you bring in the ramp will then slot right about there and there. Or you can leave it off. It's really up to you if you want to. Hinge this all the way up. This piece here, I notice if you hinge it all the way up, and we'll get the wings the best out of the way as we can. If you hinge it all the way up and in, like so, it will make it so that this piece will actually stay on and not look odd in the back. And sit flat. Here we're going to fold the wings down, and there you have his backpack done, and the top of Overlord complete. Now to connect the legs, you're just going to take right here where the boosters are and slot it in. Clicks in nicely and holds it together very good. Same with this side. Click that in. And finally, we have Overlord in his robot mode. And if you can't tell, he towers over how far my tripod can go. So we'll just move it up a little bit there. And we'll get a closer look at this guy. So rotation, we have full rotation all the way around for the arms. They may get stuck on the back a little bit, but it is possible. Rotation here at the bicep. Good rotation here at the elbow as well. Kind of a double joint in a way. Fingers are individually articulated, so you can get any movement there. For the legs, we have rotation to the back, forward. Good, complete movement there at the knees. Ratchet joints everywhere. Rotation here at the thigh. Movement all the way out, at least that far. Skirts do move in and out, so they give a little bit of clearance to move things around. We also have a ab crunch for the top, which is really cool as well. Down for the feet, we have ankle articulation. In and out to get good rocking movement that you would hope for. This clicks in and out like crazy, so just be prepared for that. That's about it for the main articulation. Up here in the head as well, he does move all the way around on this good ball joint. Up and down, he has a neck joint as well, so he gets good up and down motion on looking any way you would like him to look. Over here on his arm, you can take this piece right here on the inside, fold this down, which will then make it so you can slot this in nicely to his shoulder. This actually slots in very nicely, holds in extremely well, and doesn't show any effort of knocking loose. Again, you can have him hold it in his hand if you like, but that is clearly up to you. For the gun, pull this piece down, bring out the fingers, the normal Fans Hobby way of slotting it in to the back of the hand, which right there he can hold it even without making the fingers go back in. Wrap the hands around, and he shows very, very good ability to hold a weapon. Of course, he does have his normal gimmick that you would expect Overlord to have. We fold his app crunch up and move these pieces out. On that hinge, you will see there's these two black pieces that kind of hold it in. Move them out of the way. You can bring in either one of these two, put them on either side you like, click it all the way in, and it actually has a gimmick that makes that come out. Same here. Push this in, and if the crunch is all the way up, he has that piece come out too. Neat little effects that they added in that really tie this figure together. And of course, you can then fold these up, close it up nicely, and it covers up completely, where you can leave them in if you like or have them out. Now for comparison, let's bring in Power Baser to see how these two scale currently. And if we can get them both in here, these both are very large figures, but you can see the size difference between the two for a Power Master Optimus Prime and for an Overlord. This guy does have a God Bomber coming at some point, which will then make them about the same size, so I'm looking forward to that. Otherwise, they look great together. Next, I know they weren't the same continuity, but we'll bring in Fans Toys Hydra, which is already a pretty big figure, and you can still see how much he towers over him. And just for fun, we'll show him next to Overlord from Titan's Return, and you can see size difference is very much there. One final thing I want to show off on this mode right here on the bottom of his feet. There are these little black pieces here that lets him stand and actually not move at all. So you get his feet on there and it actually kind of sticks him on there to a point where his feet won't slip out from underneath of him. Maybe if I guess the joints go bad after a while. Really, really a nice touch. So this video has been kind of long already, so let's get him quickly back into his two vehicle modes. Down here at the legs, there is this right here. You click this in, which will then loosen it so that you can separate it again. Don't just yank it because you will break it. So again, right here, this button right here, click it in, and then you can then separate it without any problem. Remove his shield, come to this piece, remove that as well. Close this up, and you can move it to the side until later. Back to this guy. This piece already fell off, so we'll move it to the side for the time being. Get everything nice and even as you can. Separate the backpack. Rotate it down. This piece, make sure it comes down all the way on that hinge. Bring that hinge all the way down, that double hinge. Take this to the back down here. Just like so. Over to the arms. Loosen the wings up. Get them out of the way. Get the arms a little bit straighter. You can bring this piece, fold it up. Bring this all the way back down, which should, if the wings are not in the way, come down completely and line up as you would hope. Separate this piece right here to bring the thruster out. Hand rotate it back in. Bring this back down. If things don't get caught on each other, click it back in. This hinges back up on a double hinge, get it nice and even, and it just slots in just like that. This piece again, bring this down, slot it in like so. Take this piece, bring it up, rotate it around, and slots back in. Lastly, come back here to this piece, bring this up, bring the wheels out, back around, makes it easier for later. Bring this up and slot it in. And we have one side complete. To the other side, rotate this piece out, bring this up, out, fold this out, bring the hand back up. Sometimes the fingers may get in the way. If you just move them a little bit, they will conform back to where they need to go. Bring that up and out right here. Rotate this all the way down and click it together. Bring that forward. This panel again up on that double hinge out to slot in just about there. This will rotate around to right there as well. This down, lift a little bit so that it comes in, push down, bring this in. Oop, can't forget about this wheel. Rotate that out, click that back in, slot that together, and that is complete. Rotate the head all the way around. This is one of the hardest pieces and one of the pieces that scared me the most. There are this slot and this slot, which this and this will slot into. This piece will then click up underneath this button. It sometimes goes easy, sometimes it does not. So once you get these slotted in correctly, you kind of give a slot in and then click up. And that time was actually decently easy. It just sounds pretty bad. Bring this up. Up like so. Open that up. Get yourself a tool if you don't have one. Sorry, this part kind of sucks. Get the wheel out the best it can. Click it forward. And there's the jet. Moving that to the side. Moving on to the foot. At least one of the feet. Come down to the foot here. Click the toe in. Bring this forward. And this piece forward. All the way up. Bring it down and rotate around. We'll come back to that in a moment. Over here to the side. Unpanel that. Slot that up. Slot these forward. Bring this piece down on its sliding joint. Bring this all the way up. As you do, there's a double hinge here. Just make sure that's nice and hinged correctly. This will then click in, or at least slide in right there. Get this nice and even together there. This upwards. This will kind of bend over and slot this piece in. Right about. If everything's even, it should slot in. I don't know why it's having problems. Slot that in right there. On the bottom, since you have freed that up, bring this up. Click this in. Click that all the way in. And we're done with the bottom. Up here to the top, rotate this around like so. Bring this down. This will then slot in right about there. Get nice and even. Like so. This piece will loosen up. Bring it up. Bring it down. Slot that into it as well. Bring this piece up after you disconnect it. All the way up. These two right here will peg in there. You will need to collapse it and click in. Bring your turret all the way around. And we missed a spot. Undo this for the moment, bring this up. Bring this piece upwards as well. Now we'll bring it back down. Click that in. Down here at the bottom, there is a peg that needs to slot in. So this, you may need to bend it as you go, but it will slot in without a problem. Click this piece in right there, holds everything nicely together. Click it back in, and there we go. Take the gun, fold this up nicely, fold that in and that in. Come to the back here, and from right here, you'll see that slot right there. This will slot in nicely, like so, and we are done with that side. On to the other, same exact transformation for the most part. Fold that forward, bring this in, bring this out on that sliding joint. Rotate this around on the way out. Make sure those double hinges are even. Click that up, make that nice and even. This will loosen up, this will fold out. Pulled out like so, all the way to the back. Make sure we get this panel out this time. There's a little slot, a little piece on here that actually comes out this time. Wasn't on the other side, so it brings out just like that. We'll move it out of the way. Bring this back. Even this up. Bring this down. This will, again, slot as long as it's bent correctly. Peg together. Gotta get that right bend to it. And this should slot in without a problem. Just like so. This piece. Disconnect there. Come to the toe. Let's do this first. We'll go put that in. Push this all the way in. Rotate that around. Up. Circle it around. Bring the toe down. Make sure that's clicked in, which it is. And collapse. Here, bring this back. Collapse that. Oop. Here we go. Bring that up. Collapse that. Bring this down. Slots in just fine. This piece will rotate around nicely and slot together to the front. Take this piece and this piece again. Rotate this outwards. Slot this together. Like so. Take this piece and this one. Collapse it all together. You will know that the barrel will fill in right where there's a peg in the back there. As long as you have everything even, it should come together without a problem and slot together very nicely. Down here in the bottom, you may need to give it a decent squeeze for everything to come together, but there we go. Lastly, take this. There is a slot right here in the gun where this will slot into. Just kind of slot it there. As you do, everything should fold and peg in nicely and cover up everything on the bottom, like so. Overall, Fans Hobby's Double Evil is a fantastic figure. He is huge, he is easy to transform, and also interesting to transform. Great tempo and detail throughout both sides of the figures, I guess you can say, and both of the Godmasters are really nice too. So do I recommend you pick him up? Yes, if you have the money. He is pretty expensive, so you can do your research on that and see how much he is, but he is really, really nice for the price you pay. But that's about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I know this was quite the longer video, but if you did like, please like, subscribe if you haven't done so. If you did, thank you very much. I always appreciate all the support, and I will talk to you again soon. Stay tuned for more videos. Take care.